Have you ever played a game that outright hates you? One that doesn't even want to see you? Sure, there are hard games, but those are games that want you to win considering the insurmountable challenges. The games I'm talking about want you to fail, spectacularly. Those Sierra King's Quest games, the Takeshi's Challenges, the such and so. These games have a nasty attitude and they know it. One of those games is the Immortal for the Sega Genesis, my first exposure to such games. I played this game during my teenage years, when I had a whole lot of NES games and not a care in the world. I was only able to make it to level 3 before giving up. Now, looking back, I can see I made the right choice. Why? Because this game is pure evil. First, some history. The Immortal was first programmed by a man named Will Harvey. He had some help with the art assets. It was originally going to be for the Apple II and have internet support, which would have technically made this the very first MMORPG. Unfortunately, the technology wasn't there, so he instead made a single-player dungeon crawler in an isometric view. Wait, single-player dungeon crawler in an isometric view? That sounds a whole lot like Diablo. Diablo was released 6 years later. Are you telling me Blizzard ripped this off? Oh, whatever. This game was also ported to the Commodore Amiga, MS-DOS, and the Atari ST. It eventually got enough success to warrant some console ports, both of which are the most famous versions. The version I'll look at is the Genesis version, although I'll also look at the NES version at various points of the review for its quirks. The story is rather simple for a fantasy game. You're a wizard named Dunrick who's looking for his master Mortimer. Wow, Mortimer, what a Tolkien-sounding name. Who's missing in this dungeon filled with traps, goblins, and monsters. You have to find him. Wait. What? Oh my god. My whole life is a lie. Give me a moment, I need to think about things. Wow, not even a minute in and this game is already throwing twists at me. Shyamalan would be impressed. So what's the wizard's name? Well, the wizard doesn't have a name. He's supposed to be you. Yep, they're pulling a Doom guy on you. Oh well, if they're not going to give me a name, I will. Dumbledore. There we go. Anyway, Dumbledore basically goes through the dungeons fighting goblins, looting them for items, and finding them either in the chests or on the ground. He also makes his way through traps. That's about it basically. Like I said, not much to it. Or rather, not much to say without spoiling anything. There is a good story in here, but I urge you to play this game and see it for yourself. Or, if you're not masochistic, see a long play of it on YouTube. Geez, that title screen alone gives vibes of imminent death, as the Grim Reaper itself covers more than half of it.
Greetings, mortal. Are you ready to die?
Okay, so the first screen of the game doesn't look too frightening. It might be a good idea to move. Why? Is something going to come out of nowhere and kill them? Oh. Oh! So this is the game's playing, huh? Yep, it's one of those games. You know, the game that gives you not a snowball's chance in hell to complete your first time sitting, and just wears down your sense of self-esteem, punches your gaming pride in the gut, kicks it while it's down, and laughs at you the entire time. It's mind-boggling how many ways you can die in this game. Goblins kill you, trolls kill you, trapdoors kill you, arrows kill you, fungi kills you, spiders kill you. Yeah, freaking spiders. I mean, what the hell, game? And of course, the items kill you if you use them properly. Hell, even if you do use them properly, they'll still kill you eventually due to some unforeseen side effect. Although in all honesty, if you're living in the Middle Ages and you're drinking a steaming bottle of some green-colored liquid, you may have just shortened your life expectancy by 50 years. Which, considering the time period, may have resulted in you dying at the age of -7. Wait, how does that work? Now, in my book, difficulty comes in 3 forms. One of them is difficulty through rote memorization. This means you have to progress through trial and error to find out the right or easiest way to accomplish a task. King's Quest V is a good example of a difficult game of this kind. Another is difficulty through effort, where you have to rely on motor skills and reaction time to succeed. Contour is a prime example. The last form is difficulty through chance, where your chances of success are entirely predetermined, and you have to go through a process of finding out if you're on the losing side or the winning side. It's in the air, they say. Card games such as poker and solitaire are of this kind of difficulty. The Immortal somehow manages to be difficult in all three. I've already talked to you about the rote memorization stuff with the items that kill you and the moves that eventually screw you over, but there's also sections of the game where you have to dodge stuff or die. One section is having to roll away from a kraken like Eldritch Abomination who's extremely fast, holy crap. Wow, was Michael Phelps cursed by Cthulhu or something? Why is he this fast? Jeez. And then there's those slimes, those damn insta-kill slimes. Your pinky toe touches one, you're a pile of bones. They're also pretty fast, like, why? Why is everything fast in this game? You know, maybe it's the statement of life itself where if you're old, then everything's fast because life is passing by quickly to the point where it'll eventually end. Oh, the hell with it, I'm looking way too deep into this game. In terms of difficulty by chance, there's also several moments where you just have to hope the game bounces your way. In this case, literally. There's this dumbass section where you have to ride a magic carpet or else get eaten by shy halloos. However, the magic carpet controls like a Chevy Astro driven by a drunkard on an ice rink. Hey, you know it would be a terrible idea if I have to do some persistent dodging of traps and hazards using these mechanics. What a stupid idea, right? What? Fuck that. I think it's safe to say that I've died about 500 times here. Seriously, this was worked on by about 6 people. It's incredible how none of them playtested this part of the game and said, hey, this section's too frustrating and not fun, I think we should change it. There's also a similarly nasty section where you have to dodge a bunch of spider egg sacs using the levitation spell, which, by the way, has the exact same broken controls as the magic carpet. This is also done in an extremely narrow and long hallway, where not only is it hard to dodge, but thanks to its isometric view, you can't even see half the hazards. Thankfully, if you're playing the NES version, it doesn't have this hellish level. It more than makes up for it though, with the invisible bats that fly around extremely fast and can kill you in a near instant. Invisible as in you can only see their shadows. Jeez, it's bad enough to deal with visible bats in other games of this kind, but they have to be invisible? What childhood did Will Harvey go through that caused him to hate fun? This is why the game is difficult by chance. Any given moment, this game will kill you. Do you have any idea how scary that thought is? It can demotivate you into stopping play completely, regardless if you're any good at the game. I mean, what's the point? You just have to hope Lady Luck smiles upon you upon playing, and if she doesn't, this game will waste no time letting you know. You know what's even scarier? We haven't even gotten to the toughest part of the game yet. I know what you're thinking. What could possibly be harder than the burner room? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the worm room.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Let me tell you why this game will make you clinically insane. In level 5 you kill some trolls, then open a chest containing a sensor and a note. The note gives you some information about the egg collected earlier, but the sensor itself has a note attached, warning you about the worm room. It tells you some directions and will go off if you are near any worms that will eat you. Fast forward to the worm room itself. You activate the sensor and... well, damn. Okay, so this room is clearly dangerous, but there is a ladder that probably leads to the exit. But it's empty. What's the point of this? That leads you to only one possible solution. Make your way through the worm room itself. Let me tell you that the only way to figure this out is through sheer trial and error. And error. And error. And error. The hints that the game gives you are not sufficient. First off, the sensor is absolute crap. It ramps up way too fast for it to be any useful, and by the time it already warns you of any danger, you're already worm food. But I guess you'll just have to take one step at a time and take things slow. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And the sensor died. It flat out stops working. Well then.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do?
There's also the hint given on the card, but it's only shown once and for a limited time. So by the time you find out that you need a note and pencil to write down the directions and actually get them, you miss them completely. What's even more infuriating is that the sensor is found in the same chest as a note, but the note only tells you about using the bait after the egg hatches. No directions. Geez, it would have been nice to have it simply say, oh, by the way, to make it through the worm room, follow these directions. You know what would have been even better? A map! Seriously, how are you supposed to figure out these directions in an isometric game like this? I assumed you followed the directions relative to the door you enter through, since that would make sense, but then I eventually found out that you had to follow the directions relative to the screen itself. Isometric view be damned. I mean, really? You're gonna throw me a curveball like this? So, with these cryptic clues being of no help, I brute forced my way through because it was the only option. And my god, are you going to die a lot. There are so many worms here that it'll make your head spin. Now, I played this game in the age of the internet where you can look this stuff up, but imagine playing this game on your Genesis or Mega Drive back then when it came out in 1991. No internet, unless you and your parents were incredibly rich and you knew your way through a Usenet forum. If you made it all the way here, you would have been stuck here until the end of time, hopelessly wandering around getting eaten by Shahuloots, with no possible solution at all. Or you will have stopped playing and messed around in Sonic the Hedgehog. Thing is, this is nigh impossible to figure out by yourself. This is trial and error in its finest and worst form. You have to do a ridiculously specific task, and if you ever do it so slightly wrong, you're given the worst possible punishment, instant death. The worm room is where hope, joy, love, and optimism goes to die, and the only thing left is anger, frustration, and depression. You do not get a sense of accomplishment, only of dread. Once you make it through the worm room, you start to wonder what's the point of it all. Especially considering that, after going through it, your reward is an acidic slime. Yes, the very same slimes that, once you touch them, will turn you into a pile of bones. A thought pops up in your head. This game rewarded a room of invisible death with unforeseen death. Will there be anything in life that'll make up for what I've suffered through? But the game already answered it for you. The answer is no. No, there will not. Because that's how life goes. So I mentioned before that you fight goblins and trolls in this game. You do so through a combat system that honestly takes some time to get used to. In this version of the game at least, this is actually surprisingly the easiest part of the game. The enemy will attempt to attack you first and relentlessly. There is a fatigue meter that determines how fast you or the enemy attacks. You have to wait until the enemy's fatigue meter is above its health, then hack away at it until it's dead. You do that by dodging its attack. Whoa! What the hell? Sweet Jesus, the violence! I know this is only in the Genesis version, the NES and computer versions mostly have the enemies drop dead, but holy crap! This is making me of all people, cringe. And I've seen all the fatalities in Mortal Kombat, saw the rest of Harvester, and I'm a huge fan of Doom, one of the most violent games ever made. Why is this making me cringe all of a sudden? Well, it's not due to the amount of gore, but how it's presented. You're going to see moments such as head explosion, impalement, and being blown apart ridiculous and even funny because it's totally unrealistic and in some cases relatively painless. Moments such as getting scalped to your brain, getting slowly cut in half, and having your eye chopped off will send chills up your spine, because the pain is shown in a slow and detailed fashion, to the point where you yourself are feeling the pain, despite the fact that it's not real. That's the main reason why I laugh at the head explosion scene in Scanners, but cringe like no one else when I see the ear-cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs. Head explosion can't happen in your lifetime, instantaneous, you wouldn't feel the pain anyway. Ear-cutting scene, that can realistically happen. You feel the pain and it's intense. The screams of anguish make that very apparent. You know, I wonder why stalker moms of the early 90s complained about Mortal Kombat and Doom. Games where violence and gore are shown in a ridiculous fashion to the point where no one takes them seriously. And not this game, where the gore scenes are much more gruesome. Selective outrage, I guess? Anyway, as mentioned before, the combat in the Genesis version is easy. In any other version of the game, including the NES, it's a whole lot more challenging because the enemy can actually dodge your attacks and wait for the right time to strike. I guess this is one of the reasons why the Genesis version is considered the easiest. There's also a password system. Sure, it's long, but it's better than the usual 3 lives, 3 continue system other games were following at the time. Jeez, if this game followed that life system... Ugh. Another game I'll give this credit for is the animation. It's absolutely incredible, especially given the graphical limitations of the system. To this day, the animation still impressed me due to the overall flow and quality. Sure, you're going to die a lot, but at least it'll look cool. The sound is serviceable. It doesn't sound good, but it doesn't sound bad either. Well, except for this. Warning, I highly recommend turning the sound down or taking off your headphones for this part. You have been warned. You think that's bad? I had to listen to this using headphones. The music is also serviceable, although it has a nasty bit of repeating itself superfluously. Overall, if you somehow manage to look past the punishing difficulty, all you have left is a game that only goes by on the story. There really is nothing else to it. There is an interesting story in there somewhere, but it's hidden behind a wall of difficulty, nonsense, and frustration. If you're somewhat interested, I recommend seeing a long play of it on YouTube. If you're interested in how difficult games could be back then, or if you wish to go through some gaming penance, then I can recommend playing this game. Otherwise, don't bother. Its difficulty crosses the line between enjoyably challenging and frustratingly pointless. There are better options out there, such as, well, Diablo. Which reminds me, did Blizzard rip them off? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Who knows? It'll remain a mystery.